Welcome to CaseWare QuickVids. This QuickVid demonstrates how to use quarterly statements in CaseWare financials. In this video, you will learn how to set up working papers for quarterly reporting, set up financials for quarterly reporting, and use quarterly statement formats. Note that Financials IFRS will be used in this demonstration. When producing quarterly statements, you have two options. You can set up a separate client file for each quarter, or you can use the Multi-Financials option in Financials, where you can manage your quarterly and annual reporting requirements in one single file. This is a recommended best practice. Once you have created your first quarterly statements using Multi-Financials, you are able to base the subsequent quarterly periods off the previously created financial statements. For more information on multi-financial statements, see the QuickVid entitled Multi-Financial Statements. To report quarterly data in the financial statements, the CaseWare period date sequence must be set to quarterly in the Working Papers client file. With the client file open, navigate to the Engagement menu. Select Properties, and the Engagement Properties dialog appears. Click on the Reporting Dates tab. Select the option Quarterly and any other reporting date sequence that you would like to use. Depending on your selections, you will be able to decide how the balances are computed. For the quarterly balances, I will select Independent. For yearly, I can decide whether the yearly balances are computed based on quarterly data or independently. I will select Quarterly. Once all appropriate changes have been made in the dialog, click OK. You will then need to import the quarterly trial balance data into the quarterly reporting period. Refer to the Working Papers topics on importing from Excel and ASCII text files for more information. Once the quarterly statements are set up with the trial balance information, ensure that each quarter's financial statements has the appropriate period and context selected in the document properties. Right-click on the item and select Properties. In the Period drop-down, set the correct period for the statements. In this example, I've already defined my period as the third quarter. The first time you open your financial statements, a warning will appear to indicate that the reporting period has been changed. You will be prompted to start over. This is because the original statements that were used as a base for the Multi-Financials quarterly statement used annual presentation formats. Selecting Yes will reload the quarterly presentation formats. If permitted by the template author, you may need to define your comparative reporting for each statement. You can change the default comparative reporting period by defining the comparative reporting option in the Areas Context ribbon. For example, if I navigate to my Statement of Financial Position and then click its ribbon, I can choose my reporting period. There are three options: preceding period, equivalent period in prior year, and prior year end. Preceding period refers to the reporting period immediately preceding the current one. Equivalent period in prior year refers to the corresponding reporting period from the previous year, and prior year end refers to the last reporting period in the previous year. Select the option most applicable to the client file and jurisdiction. I will select Equivalent period in prior year. This means that the data for quarter 3's prior year will display. Navigating to the income statement, notice how the table has been converted to a 4-column comparative table with appropriate headings: 3 months ended and 9 months ended. Due to the nature of the statement of income, statement of retained earnings, statement of cash flows, and, where applicable, the additional statement areas, there is a separate table format used for quarterly presentation. The firm author is able to modify these quarterly formats in the Knowledge library and can create additional formats if necessary. Moving on, let's look at the notes in the Notes to the Financial Statements. Financials does not provide out-of-the-box quarterly note formats. The table column headings for many standard notes do match the quarterly presentation settings from the ribbons for the related statement area. For example, the cash and cash equivalents notes. However, the numeric data always displays the annual values. If you require quarterly notes, we recommend that template authors set these up using the do-it-yourself generic table notes in the libraries. For information on creating and editing do-it-yourself tables, please review the QuickVid Financial Statements Do-It-Yourself Tables. This concludes the QuickVid on quarterly statements. For additional resources, including documentation and online help, see the related links. Thank you for watching CaseWare QuickVids.